We are tackling easements for the national portion of the real estate exam, which is a fundamental concept under the umbrella of encumbrances. An easement is a non-possessory right to use the land of another for a specific limited purpose. It is not ownership, but it is a legal interest that can significantly impact property value and use. You must be able to identify the two primary types of easements, which are appurtenant and engross. An easement appurtenant is unique because it is tied to the land itself and involves two distinct parcels of property, usually located adjacent to one another. The parcel that benefits from the easement is known as the dominant tenement, and the parcel that is burdened by the easement is the servient tenement. A classic exam scenario involves a property owner who must cross a neighbor's driveway to reach the main road. In this case, the landlocked property is the dominant estate and the neighbor's land is the servient estate. The most critical takeaway for your exam is that an easement appurtenant runs with the land. This means that if the dominant estate is sold, the easement automatically transfers to the new owner without the need for a new agreement. Similarly, if the servient estate is sold, the new owner takes the property subject to that existing easement. On the other hand, we have the easement engross, which does not have a dominant estate. This type of easement benefits a person or a legal entity rather than a specific piece of land. Think of your local utility company. They have an easement engross to run power lines or gas pipes across your property. The utility company is the beneficiary, but there is no neighboring land that is being served by this right. On the national exam, pay close attention to whether the easement is personal or commercial. Commercial easements engross, like those for railroads or utilities, are usually transferable. Personal easements engross, such as a right given to a person to fish on your land, typically terminate when the person dies or the property is sold. A common trick on the exam is to ask if an easement engross runs with the land, and the answer is no because it is not attached to a dominant estate. Creation of easements is another high-priority topic for exam day. You need to distinguish between an easement by necessity and an easement by prescription. An easement by necessity is created by a court order when a property is completely landlocked and has no legal access to a public street or highway. The law presumes that every owner should have access to their property to make it useful. In contrast, an easement by prescription is acquired through the unauthorized and continuous use of another person's land over a specific period of time set by state law. To qualify as a prescriptive easement, the use must be open, notorious, continuous, and hostile, which means it is done without the owner's permission. This is very similar to adverse possession, but the key difference for the exam is that adverse possession leads to ownership of the land, while a prescriptive easement only leads to the right to use the land. Termination of easements is a frequent subject of exam questions. One of the most common ways an easement ends is through merger. Merger occurs when the same person acquires ownership of both the dominant and servient estates. Under the law, you cannot have an easement over your own property, so the easement is legally extinguished. Another method is a release, where the holder of the dominant estate signs a legal document giving up their right. You might also see questions regarding abandonment. To terminate an easement by abandonment, the holder must demonstrate a clear intent to stop using it permanently. Simply not using the easement for a period of time is generally not enough to constitute abandonment on the exam. You should also watch for termination by the end of purpose, where the reason for the easement no longer exists, or by the expiration of a set time limit if one was established in the original agreement. A great mnemonic to remember the relationship between the two estates is the dominant estate is the one that is delighted because they get the benefit, while the servient estate is the one that sighs because they are being served or burdened. Understanding these nuances will help you navigate the tricky wording the exam uses to test your knowledge of property rights and encumbrances.